everybody that's already tuned in, I hope you are ready to learn something today. And what we're going to do, Jen Fishbourne and I are going to perform the sales presentation for you. And I want you to know who Jen Fishbourne is. She's our newest master licensee, and she's been with us several months now, and she's written several trusts. She and I agreed that maybe everybody needs to see somebody else perform it besides me. And so you're about to see it, and I'm excited about it. So I'm Randall Baxter, Asset Positioning Services. This is the Family Tree Asset Positioning Sales Presentation in conjunction with the Family Estate Docs software. And Jen, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
All right. Thank you, Randy. So you can stop your screen share if you don't mind. And and ask the questions at the end so we don't interrupt the flow of the presentation. All right. And then what I have done is I have kept Randy's script as a basis, but I've added my own personality to it. So it's still pretty much Randy's script, and you'll recognize that. But I'm not Randy. I'm not like this Tennessee mountain boy type. And that some of those things are just not me. So I had to make it me. So I encourage everybody, whatever I'm training in insurance, I always say, hey, start with the script, tweak it to your personality, but keep the basics of the script. And so that's what we're going to do today. And you'll see that I have changed the order of just a couple of things just because that fits with my personality better. All right. So we are going to get started here. And all right, so I'm going to start as if I am starting on a Zoom call because I know that not everyone here, including Randy, does Zoom presentations. So I want you to see what it's like right from the very beginning. So this is as if we both just signed on to Zoom. All right. Hello, you must be Randall and Linda. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And do you go by Randall or Randy? What do you want me to call you?
Well, I go by Randy,
Randy.
most of the time, but Randall will be on my tombstone.
Okay. Well, I'll do Randy then. And you go by Linda as well?
Yes, Linda. Yes.
All right. And Rose gave me you guys' names. So how do you know Rose?
She's just been a family friend for a long time.
All right. She's a great woman, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
right. All right. And what was it that you were wanting to do here with me today?
Well, I'd sort of like to review our current estate plan and see what you're thinking, what your recommendations might be.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. All right. Well, yeah, definitely. Let's get into that. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And give me 1 second here. All right. Can you see this whiteboard? It has 2 circles on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Size
All
of
right,
a quarter.
So we are going to start by drawing your family tree. So Randy, let me start with you. When were you born? What's your birthday?
August 30, 1954.
All right. And what do you do for a living, Randy?
I'm a dabbler.
A dabbler. What do you dabble in?
Well, I do a little bit of everything. I'm mostly an estate planner, but on my family, on our high school reunion, they asked me what I did, and I've just put dabbler.
Okay, so estate planner, that's good. And Randy, where do you live?
Live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Knoxville, Tennessee. How long you lived there?
All my life,
Oh my
69
goodness.
years.
Your accent tells me that.
Hey, I live in the same neighborhood that I was born in.
Oh my
And
goodness.
then my brothers and sisters all live about 2 blocks away. I had 5 brothers and sisters, and then my mom. We all lived within 2 blocks of each other for decades, and we still do.
I can't even imagine that. So I live in San Antonio, Texas, and I've moved 45 times. So I can't even imagine staying in the same place. All right, Linda.
And Linda's from Wisconsin. Go ahead.
Linda, when is your birthday?
August 20th, 57.
Well, you guys have a birthday 10 days apart, huh?
Yes,
All right. And Linda, what do you do for a living?
I'm a office manager for an estate planner.
Okay. And you guys live together, right?
Right.
Okay, good. All right. Now, how many kids do you guys have?
Well, I have one,
I have 3.
Okay.
but
And
we
do you
don't have
any
any together. We
All
don't have
right.
any together.
All right. So we've got 4 kids. 1, whoops. 2, 3, 4. All right. Let's start with yours, Randy. What is your child's name?
I have a daughter. Her name is Lori, Lori,
When's her birthday?
October 18, 1980.
And where does she live?
Here in Knoxville.
Okay. And is she married?
Yes,
What's her husband's name?
Charles McCrae.
And do they have any kids?
Yes, they have 3 children, twins who are 10 and a 7-year-old,
And what are their names real
7-year-old
quick?
boy. Henry and Taylor. Taylor's a girl. They're twins. And Spencer is the 7-year-old.
All right. And let's see. That is your, whoops. Sometimes I can get the lines and sometimes I can't get the lines. All right, there we go. And so that's from a previous marriage, is that right?
Yes.
Do you have any legal or financial ties to that ex-wife?
No.
All right, great. Linda, tell me about your 3 kids. Who's the oldest?
Okay, Scott's the oldest. His birthday is July 23rd, 1980.
Where does he
And he's
live?
not married. He lives in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Okay.
That's where I'm from. Yes.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay, does he
And
have
then
any kids?
Michael, no, he's not married. No.
Okay.
Michael's birthday is December 19th, 1983.
Where does he live?
Wisconsin.
Okay. Is he married or have kids?
He's married and has one daughter, Nora.
Nora?
Yes,
How old?
she's 12.
And what's his wife's name?
Marone.
No.
What'd you say?
Wife's name.
Oh, wife's name. I'm sorry. So I think it's the last name. Jennifer.
Oh, just like me.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and then the last child?
And then Tim. He's
Tim?
not married. Is Tim, Tim,
Okay. His birthday?
June 6th, 1988.
And where does he live?
He lives in Knoxville.
Okay, and is he married or have kids?
No,
All right. And the ex for these kids, do you have any legal or financial ties to the ex?
nothing. No, nothing.
Awesome. All right, are either of your parents still living? Either one of
Yes.
you? Okay,
Mine
Linda?
are not.
Okay,
My
Linda,
father is. My
dad
father,
is?
yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Linda, do you have any brothers and sisters that are living?
I do.
What are their names?
I have three brothers,
What are their names?
John, David, and Michael.
Okay, Randy, do you have any brothers or sisters that are living?
Yes, I have 3. There were 6 of us. There's only 4 of us now. Phil, Phil, Rick, Rick, Susie.
Did I spell it right?
Well, no, she's S-U-Z-Y, but that's okay. I knew what you meant.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the family, any kids out of wedlock, that any kids given up for adoption, anybody else in the family?
No,
No, well, that's
Okay, great.
everybody other than spouses and their nieces and nephews.
Okay, all right. So, give me just a second here, and I am going to see if I can get this to work. All right, can you see my PowerPoint?
yes,
Yes,
Is it full screen?
yes.
yes.
Okay, great. All right, so that's me. I'm Jennifer Fishbourne. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to come back to your family tree off and on here. But first of all, we're going to start with, you wanted some information about estate plan. So right now, do you have a will, a trust, or the government plan?
We both have wills right now.
Okay. And do you have a financial power of attorney?
Yes,
Yes,
And do you have medical powers of attorney?
yes,
yes,
And do you have a living will?
yes.
As we go through, we will see if those are the ones that you want, if they're perfectly according to what you want, or if you need to make any changes. All right.
okay,
All right. Oh, forgot that one. All right. Now, most people do not have the estate plan that they want for their family because they know that they need one, but they've never gotten around to it. No one's taken the time to clearly explain the process. They don't want to take the time to go downtown, pay for parking, go up to the 5th floor of a big building to discuss their estate plan with an attorney and pay for consultation fee, even if they do not purchase a plan. And they are afraid that it will cost too much. So lawyers usually charge between $2,500 and $5,000 for basic estate plans, and then charge by the hour for reviews, amendments, and consultations after that. Today, we are going to have a conversation about your estate plan in an easy to understand format, designed with all the proper questions and information, including how to fund it. We can do it right here
Okay.
on Zoom, and you can easily make changes anytime you need. So my firm can provide lawyer-written estate plans that are easy to complete for $19.95, and we can have it ready for signatures in 1 week. But first, let's see if you actually need an estate plan or not. Now, it's easy to overlook things that shouldn't be ignored, so we're going to refer to your family tree for most of the answers to building your estate plan. But before
Okay.
we do that, I would like to take a minute to review the estate planning process with you. Is that all right?
sure.
Sure.
All right. So you're lying in a hospital bed at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, God forbid, with a doctor you don't know, and you're in a coma or a vegetative state and you can't answer questions. The doctor thinks you are not going to recover and is looking at you trying to decide what to do. What kind of questions is he going to ask?
I don't know, but I'm probably not going to answer them.
Linda, do you have any idea what kind of questions he would ask?
Probably who wants to take care or answer questions while we're in that state.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So let's start with the living will, which is also called an advanced healthcare directive, which is a document that tells everyone what your wishes are when you are defenseless or in a coma, and probably the doctor does not think that you will recover. It says things like if you want to be resuscitated or not, put on life support, or even various organ donation options. Now, one thing about the living will, though, is that it does not name anyone to be in charge. It just explains what you want and what your wishes are. Now, the power of attorney for healthcare is a document that gives a loved one the power to make the decisions that you have just requested. So this person will have complete authority for literally making life and death decisions about your healthcare. The healthcare power of attorney can also be used when you are disabled or no longer cognitively alert. And it also comes with a HIPAA waiver that grants your healthcare agent the right to be informed about your medical situation. Hopefully you will never need one, but it is far better to be prepared in case you do. You want to choose this person carefully since they can withdraw life support. So, just one second here.
You know, Jen, we were in that
See your-
situation with my stepfather.
Say that again.
We were in that situation with my stepfather.
Recently?
A couple years ago, but his daughter didn't want, his daughter was the power of attorney, but she didn't want to make any decisions, and I was the backup. And we were there in the hospital, and we had to convince her that she didn't want to make any decisions, that she needed to turn that power over. But anyway, I've been in that situation. I understand it.
Okay, all right. So can you see your family tree again?
Yes.
All right, so who on your family tree would you want to be your healthcare power of attorney? And it can be different for each person. Randy, you may have somebody, and Linda, you may have somebody. No. Most
Well, on
people
mine,
are
I
very
picked Linda. I picked Linda first, and then Lori.
Okay, so Linda, most people pick spouses first, okay, and then whoops, and then Lori is your second.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Linda, how about you?
Randy first, and then my son Tim second.
Okay. All right, so let's see. All right, can you see my screen again? I mean, my PowerPoint again?
Yes, yes.
All right. Now, the power of attorney for finances gives your financial agent the power to make basic financial decisions, to buy and sell your assets, write checks from your bank account, or even fund assets into your trust. While you are in a coma, without a power of attorney for finances, other people cannot access your assets appropriately unless they are on that account as a joint owner. If you have any retirement plans like a 401k or IRA, they do not have joint owners, so even your spouse cannot access them. Sometimes your spouse is just unable to make financial decisions then either. Now, let's say you come out of this coma, but you were disabled for several months. Who do you want to make your decisions with finances?
Well, I've already made that decision. Linda would make that decision for me, and then if she was unable to, it would be Lori.
Lori, okay. And Linda, how about you?
The same, Randy first, and then my son Tim, if Randy
Okay.
wasn't able to.
All right. And so now if you guys, God forbid, were in a car accident together and Lori had control of Randy's finances and Tim has control of Linda's finances, is that going to work?
Yes.
Just making sure.
We have a joint checking account, but our assets are separate.
Okay, all right, and that's why we ask, right?
Mhm.
Okay, good. All right, now both the healthcare power of attorney and the financial power of attorney are what we call a springing durable power of attorney. Springing means that they only spring into effect when two doctors agree that you are incompetent and unable to make your own decisions. And then those two doctors' letters become part of the power of attorney documents, along with your directives from your living will. They will only spring into action when absolutely necessary. Durable means that they last only as long as necessary. So if you do recover and are able to make your own decisions again, you still have the legal power to do so. So the combination of your living will, your two powers of attorney documents, and the two doctors' letters would be required for these powers of attorney to come into effect. Do you have any questions on how all these work?
No, I think I didn't understand too much about the springing part, but I can understand why it's that way.
Okay, so
Okay,
it
yeah,
only,
you explained
Yeah.
it very well, yes.
all right, well, let me just make sure that you get it exactly correct. So it only springs into action when two doctors agree. They sign these doctors' letters. You see these doctors' letters up here? We have a letter from a doctor
Yes.
saying, hey, you can't take care, you can't make these decisions. And then you have these two powers of attorney and your advanced care, your living will. All 5 of these documents have to be in place before any of those powers of attorney are valid.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
yes.
it does. Do we ever need to review it, or
Sure.
when would we make changes? What would the conditions be if we wanted to make changes?
So often people make changes when there's a relationship change. That's a big one, right? Sometimes when there's an asset change, and often when there's a health change. Sometimes
Okay.
you just change your mind and you want to have somebody different doing it, right? You're like, I'd rather have this brother rather than that brother, or whatever it is. Okay, so you can change it whenever you want. You can change it next month. You can change it 10 years down the road, whenever you want to change it. That make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what could happen if you don't have all of these documents in place and you become incapacitated?
What would happen?
What would happen?
I can get it to turn. So that would be called guardianship. And guardianship is a person who the court selects to take custody of you and responsibility for you if you do not have all these documents in place. And then you become despondent, irresponsible, or incapacitated in some way. It costs less money to do a proper estate plan. Would you rather make these decisions for yourself or let the government decide?
Oh, myself for sure.
Yeah, I think I would rather make that decision myself.
Okay. Now let's talk about wills. A will states how your property should be distributed after death, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 types of wills. A testamentary will is the one most people know about. This is your wish list for after you die. This requires probate, which we will cover in just a minute. Or the second is a pour over will, which is the only kind that avoids probate. The pour over will does one thing. It names the family trust as the beneficiary of all assets not already in the trust. This only requires probate if the trust is not fully funded. A trust needs to be funded correctly. After it's funded, the pour over will ensures that your remaining assets will automatically transfer to your trust. Now, most attorneys do not help fund clients' trust, so they end up with just a very expensive piece of paper. My job is to help you fund your trust. Now, both types of
Well,
will.
I have a question.
Okay,
Does the pour over will in itself keep me out of probate court?
not necessarily. You have to have your trust funded. And then the pour
Okay.
over will is what helps with that. All right. So it's just going to reduce the possibility for the need of probate court. But if your trust is fully funded, then you're going to be good.
Okay,
Now, both types of wills need to be probated, the pour over will or the testamentary will. They both need to be probated if there are assets remaining in your estate outside of your trust. All right. So the purpose of this pour over will is to reduce the possibility of the need for probate court. Now, intestate means that you die without a will. So it must go to probate court and the state will determine everything that happens to your estate. Now let's talk about probate. Probate is the government system where the state gets to decide everything that you do not have protected in a trust. If you do not have a will, intestate, your family will definitely have to go through the probate process. If you do have a will, they will still have to go through the probate process. The state probate court must prove that your will is genuine and that you wrote it and that you were in your right mind at the time. Then they will post all your information publicly to see if you owe anyone anything, like end of life medical bills, for instance. and see if there are any other claims against your estate. There's so much fraud in today's world that the courts need to determine if the person actually wrote this will or not. Now, once it's determined to be valid, the court will appoint someone to carry out your wishes, an executor, unless somebody contests the will, which is very common in mixed families like you guys's. And then the court decides from there. Now, whether it is contested or not, there are several problems with the probate system. Number one, it's very time consuming. It's very inconvenient and it's very expensive. It can be between 3 to 10% of the total value of the estate goes to the state government. You have a loss of privacy. All your personal information gets exposed. They put all of your information online, your name, address, phone number, social security, birthday, relatives, all your assets, all your debts, anything that someone would need for identity theft after death, which is becoming more and more of a serious problem. And the biggest thing on probate court is that it is extremely stressful. Do you know anyone who's gone through the probate process?
Yes, I do.
I don't.
What was that, Linda?
I saw an argument over a frying pan, cast
Really?
iron frying pan. And the judge would not close the estate until they located that frying pan.
Okay.
I mean, it was
Well,
hot and heavy.
I guess that's part of living in the mountains in Knoxville, Tennessee.
That's
I'd like
true.
my
That's
cast
true.
iron frying pan, but I don't think that would be what people would go to court over here. So, all right. So how do you opt out of the government's probate court system? There's only one way: a revocable living trust. The revocable living trust does everything the probate system would do, except you are in charge. You are the one making the decisions while you are in good health, not the government. You are making a legal contract called a revocable living trust that you have complete authority over as long as you live. You can make changes to it. You can update it. You can do whatever you want with it. This is a one-time investment that will protect you and your family for the rest of your life versus the government's probate system, where they not only tell your family what to do, but they charge them for it as well. Now, what is the difference between a last will and testament and a living trust? A will is like a wish list of who gets what when you die. That must be validated by probate court to determine if it's legal and valid or not. On the other hand, a revocable living trust is a legal contract that holds your assets now and is used to distribute them later without the need to go through probate. It's signed by 2 witnesses who attest that you, in fact, did sign this contract, and then a notary makes it official. The revocable living trust has more benefits than the will does. In addition to saying who gets what, you can also determine when and how they get distributed. Unlike a last will, a living trust that is fully funded completely bypasses the entire probate system, fully funded one, without the added expenses, time, stress, and loss of privacy in the probate system. Probate court is the government's plan. A revocable living trust is your custom plan. You have any questions about that part so far?
I think I'd rather have that.
Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah.
Okay,
Then, yes.
all right. Well, let's find out a little bit more about it. So
Okay.
let's talk about the roles of the people in a revocable trust. It has 3 basic relationships: the trustor, the trustee, and the beneficiaries. The trustor, also called the grantor or all these other names, creates the trust. That's you. The trustor is the owner of the trust. You have the right to name all the other parties to your trust. The trustee is the fiduciary of the trust, the person who manages the assets in the trust for the benefit of your beneficiaries. This person can move, buy, sell, and dispose of assets. The trustee cannot change the terms of the trust at all. He can only manage it. the trustor is the only one who can make any changes. Now, in most cases, the trustors are also the trustees. So you are both the owner and the manager of your trust until one of these things happens. You die. Your financial power of attorney goes into effect because you are medically incompetent. A judge rules that you are incompetent, or you resign from your position. If any of those happen while you are still alive, you will still be the trustor, the owner of the trust, but your appointed trustee will now manage it according to your wishes. So who would you want to be financially responsible to manage your assets when you die?
Well, I would want Linda.
Randy,
Okay, and who would be second?
my son, Tim.
And I would want Lori, so I don't know if that's a conflict or not. But I would want, but we both brought assets to our lives together. And Lori knows what I brought, and I'm sure Tim knows what Linda brought.
Okay, and so is all that in writing and separated and all of that?
Probably not as well as it should be. I do know that Linda's family has a beautiful, nice farm up in Wisconsin. My family has a nice little plot of land down in Riceville, Tennessee. And then Linda and I own a house together. But Linda also owns a house up in Wisconsin that's just hers. So,
Okay.
Our lives, when we brought them together, we brought pieces and parts from all over America.
Right. So if you were to both die in a car accident together, who would you have? I know we don't know all the information about it yet, but at this point, because you brought it up, would you have a trust together for both Randy and Linda together?
Yeah, I think it's sounding more and more like that's the right thing for us to do.
Okay.
I don't know how to do that. Maybe you can show us how.
Okay. And so, would you want both, if you were to both die at the same time, would you want both Lori and Tim to be trustees, or would you want one of them, or would you want someone who was unrelated?
I think I'd want both of them.
I would say both, yeah.
We trust them both.
And do they work well together?
They would. They
yeah.
would.
Okay, all right. And that is definitely one option that you can have.
But Jen, I also think that they would be very protective of the assets that each of their parents brought to the deal.
Well, we'd have to
Right.
have that
Yeah.
spelled out. Yeah.
Right, so that's going to be your job, is to spell that out, and then their job will be to make sure that it all happens.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
I like that.
Okay. Now, the trustee and the financial power of attorney will have exactly the same powers. So why would you need both? Well, the powers of attorney die when you die, but the trustee powers continue. So the power of attorney powers then get transferred over to the trustee. So if your financial power of attorney and your first trustee are the same person, there's no loss of power. And right now you have each other, so that's good. But you have also chosen as your successors different people. So that means that power would actually, it wouldn't be, well, it would be, if you both died, it would be to different people. But if just one person died, it would not be.
I sort of think Lori and Linda would be working well together, and I think Tim and I would work well together.
Okay. All right, Linda, what do you think? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Looks like we have a plan as to who the people would be. So,
Well, that was easy.
okay, good. Now, the beneficiaries of the trust are the ones who ultimately benefit without the expense and hassle of having to go through probate. In most cases, everything goes to the surviving spouse first and then split equally among the kids, but that's not always true. Now,
I'm not sure that would be true in our situation either.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about beneficiaries, and then we can talk about how things would be split up. Does that sound good?
Okay,
All right, so your beneficiaries first, they don't have to be your children. They can be anyone that you choose. And then there are several different beneficiary arrangements possible. So the first one is equal, and that's where everyone gets equal amounts when you die or you both die. Then there's different. That's obvious. It's not equal. So these could be, you have two different marriages. So that could be one. You brought the kids from two previous marriages. Maybe you have kids who are not responsible with money, or they might have a drug or alcohol problem. Maybe you just want to give more to some and less to others. You know, maybe one child did more for you and you want to give them more. Maybe you need to disown someone. Maybe there are marital problems with one of your kids or emotional problems that need to be considered. Do you have any special needs children?
no,
No, we're
Okay,
good.
all right. So we don't have to worry about that. Let's talk a little bit more about it, and then we'll talk about your situation specifically. So we also have the joint trust for children, which allows you to decide when money is to be distributed and for what reason. It allows you to set the minimum age that they must reach before they can receive their inheritance, if you want. You can also choose if you want to divide the distribution of their inheritance into multiple stages, or just give them the whole thing all at once. So the funds are managed by your chosen trustee, which would be Lori and Tim. And until your beneficiaries reach the ages that you specify. For example, ages 25, 30, and 35, instead of all at once at age 18 or something like that, right? Now, you can also choose early access to those funds for certain things such as education, medical expenses, buying a house or a wedding, for example. You can determine other parameters such as a minimum GPA or testing for drugs or alcohol, that kind of stuff. Do you have any of these kinds of things that would apply to your situation?
I don't. My children are 35 or older, and I don't have any of those other circumstances.
Okay,
I think our primary concern would be what Linda brought would go to Linda's family, and what I brought would go to mine, and then what we have built together, I would want her to have
okay,
without
all
any
right.
without any connections.
All right. We can definitely make sure that that happens.
Okay,
All right, there's one other area we need to consider with beneficiaries, and that's sometimes we just need to protect our beneficiaries from themselves, or in case the timing of their inheritance is not good. Perhaps they're having creditor issues, or they're going through a divorce. If so, your inheritance would go in one door and straight out another. Maybe they have a drug or alcohol or a gambling problem. We can name them as spendthrift in our trust and designate exactly what we want to have happen. So the spendthrift protection also provide provisions to protect family members who are poor money managers or disabled. And your trustees will hold their portion of their inheritance and can pay for certain bills and expenses related to their health and support, like rent or medical bills, for example. And once all the problems have been resolved, they can receive the rest of the distributions that you have set up. Now, we don't know what will happen in the future, so spendthrift protections protect your beneficiaries even from themselves if necessary. So you don't need any of these right now, is that right?
all right.
No, we're
Right.
we're okay.
One,
I
our
think
family-
I
our
think
family
what
was doing- Go ahead.
well, just from listening to you, I think that our issues are going to be the Tennessee folks get the Tennessee stuff, and the Wisconsin folks get the Wisconsin stuff, and the Wisconsin Tennessee couple get the things that they built together, and we just want to be sure that that's what we own is
Okay.
that decision process.
All right. Our
I don't
family
think we
was
have that
going
right
through-
now.
Yeah, our family was going through a death. My aunt and uncle died at the same time, and the inheritance was supposed to be coming to my two sisters and I, and all three of us happened to be going through a divorce at the same time. And so this would have been very, very important so that other like ex-spouses who the divorce wasn't final yet didn't end up getting money. So we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I want you to know that this is in place just in case you need it or your beneficiaries need it. Does that make sense? And right here, so you guys don't have any children under 18, is that correct?
That's
No.
correct.
All right, so we don't need this
We have,
page.
we have grandchildren.
Are you, all right, are you giving, are you guardians of any of your grandchildren?
No,
No.
All right, so we don't need this page. All right. Now, the special beneficiary needs that you have in your particular family is that you want Randy's assets to transfer to Randy's side of the family and Linda's assets to transfer to Linda's side of the family. Is that correct?
right, yes, yes.
All right. And now if one of you passed, and the other one did not, and you can each answer this separately, would your assets go to your spouse or to your kids?
Well, I'll go first. If I died before Linda's gonna get a big old life insurance policy.
Okay,
And Lori's gonna get the things that I had before I met Linda.
okay,
And the things that Linda and I developed together are gonna be Linda's.
okay. And
That-
Linda, how
that's-
about you?
Right, I have a life insurance policy that Randy would get. And then he would get the house if I passed. But then my children would get the Wisconsin house. My assets in Wisconsin would go to them, or the farm or whatever would. Anything
All
from
right.
Wisconsin would go to the children.
Okay, all right. So we definitely need to make sure that they're all going to the right people and the right places depending on the particular situation. Is that correct?
Yes. Right,
Right.
All right, we can make sure that that happens, okay?
okay, yes.
I think we've tried to make sure that that happens, but what I've learned from you today is I think that to make that happen, we have to go through the probate court.
That's what the trust is for. We're gonna get to that.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's what the trust is for. So let's get there. All right. Well, I mean, we talked about the trust, but yeah, we put that into the trust. If everything is fully funded into the trust, and you have it, you have all of your wish list, put into the trust, then it's a legal contract. And so then it's up to your trustees to make sure that that happens. But you don't have to go to probate court if everything is fully funded. And that's my job. Lawyer doesn't help you fully fund a trust, but my job is to help you fully fund the trust so that all of those wishes come true. That make sense?
Yes, it does. I like that.
Okay, now let's discuss your assets a little bit. You guys said that you have one house that you own in Knoxville, right?
Right,
Yep.
All right. Do you owe anything on your mortgage?
Yeah, we owe about $250,000.
Okay. And if you sold your house today, how much do you think you could get for it?
We'd probably get 750 to 900.
Okay, now that's a big range there, Randy.
probably 750.
Yeah, well, I like it. I like it 900 worth, but we've had a $750,000 offer.
Okay, all right. So that's about a $500,000 equity that you have in your home, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and let's see, how many years do you have left to pay that?
12, maybe. We probably have a 12-year mortgage left.
Well,
Yeah.
and do you know your interest rate?
4.5.
Okay, not bad. And what's your monthly payment on that?
About almost a little over $2,000.
Does that include taxes and insurance?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, so that's PITI. All right, and then you own, now this particular house, I want to make sure. Linda, you said that if you die first, that Randy stays in the house, correct?
Right.
Randy, if you die first, does Linda stay in the house?
yes,
Okay,
that's our house.
all right. When you both die, what happens to this house?
It gets sold. And half of it goes my way and half of it goes Linda's way.
Okay. So Linda's 3 kids would get 50% and then Lori would get the other 50%. Is that right?
That's the way it's set up right now, but you know, we haven't even thought about it being 25, 25, 25, 25. Lori doesn't need it. So that's probably something we need to discuss. To be honest with you, I would rather see, I'm closer to Tim than I am to Michael and Scott. And I would, you know, it would bother me a bit for Tim and Lori to be involved in that transaction.
Okay, so Linda, what are your thoughts on that?
That I agree. That'd be good.
Okay, it sounds like Randy's just kind of changing. Do you want 50% to go to Lori and then 50% to be split between Scott, Michael, and Tim?
Yes.
But yeah, I think right now, I think that's what we have.
Okay, okay, all right, that sounds good. And then you have a house in Wisconsin, is that right?
I do.
Okay, and that's your house.
Right.
And so when that dies, when you die, what happens to that house?
I would like it to be split between my 3 sons.
And
And
that's okay with me.
will all 3 of them live there?
Well, no, I mean, sell it and split the money. I mean,
They'll
it
sell
would
it,
have to be
okay,
sold. Yeah.
all right,
But they all have their own houses now. They wouldn't
Okay.
want that house.
all right. And is there any other real estate?
No.
Just the 2 houses? Okay, great. All right, now, for me to best advise you, I just need some ballpark numbers on financial assets, all right? So just ballpark. About
Okay.
how much money do you have in your checking account?
Oh, in our checking account, about
Yep.
30,000
Okay,
average.
and you can make these numbers up. You don't have to tell me real numbers unless you want to. All right. How about savings?
Our savings fluctuates because I invest in my estate planning business. So I would say cash savings, we probably have 15,000.
Okay. Do you have any CDs?
No,
No.
No? Anything in the money market or savings bonds?
No.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, we don't. No.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the market. What do you have in the market? Do you have anything here? 401k, IRA, stocks, bonds, mutual funds? What do you have?
we have IRAs, but they're not in stocks or in annuities.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. In the market, what do you have? Anything in the market?
No, I don't.
Just
Nope.
our estate planning business.
Okay. And then any other types of assets, royalties, mineral rights, gold, silver, Bitcoin, whatever it is. Anything else that you have for assets?
No.
Okay. Now,
Well, again, the annuities.
yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Do you own a business then, Randy? It sounds to me like you're saying something like that.
I own a company called Asset Positioning Services. I've had it for almost 40 years.
Okay. And what happens to your business when you die?
You know, we are building equity in our business now that we used to not have because of the structure of the life insurance business. I'm not sure anybody would work as hard as I work in it. So I'm not sure it would have any huge value at this point, other than the income I generate from each month. So I don't think anybody's going to. I think they're going to want the hard assets, but I don't think they're going to want the work assets. They might. We'll see, but I don't think anybody in my family is going to say, "Randy's dad, give me his business." They might say,
Okay.
"Randy's dad, give me his assets."
Okay, all right. Would talking about planning for your business be worth having another conversation about later?
It
Oh,
could be.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
Yes, that needs to be decided.
Okay, all right. I'll make a note of that and we can have a conversation
Okay,
about
thank
that later,
you.
all right?
Okay.
All
Yes.
right. How about liabilities? Do you have any current liabilities?
Just mortgage.
Okay. Now, tell me about your current income sources and how much you take home from each. Randy, I know you own a business, so it's going to be different, but just kind of ballpark it. What's your-
I average about $20,000 to $25,000 a month income,
Okay.
and I get Social Security about $2,500 a month, and I get a pension from the New York Life Insurance Company. That's not huge because I left early, so I get another $450 for that.
Okay. Linda, how about you?
Just the paycheck right now, because I'm not retired, so about 6,000 a month.
That's net,
That's not net.
not net.
Not net.
I have
Is
to
that
go. I have to start.
Is that gross? Is it gross?
Yes,
Okay, gross. All right, now I need to just make sure I understand here. Is this from Randy's business?
yes, yes.
Okay, all right. So Randy, you're taking home 20 to 25,000 a month from your business. Linda, how much are you taking home from your work?
It's about 5,100.
5,100 is net. Okay. All right, and Linda, you're not drawing Social Security yet?
No, I'm not old enough yet, no.
Okay. Do you know when you would like to start drawing Social Security?
Yes, 66 in 6 months.
Okay. That's
So
very
March of
specific.
next year.
Okay. All right. And do you know what it's going to be? Have you looked it up?
It's about 3,000.
Okay. And will you have any pensions?
No,
Are you going to continue working in the business when you start drawing Social
No.
Security?
no.
No? Okay. We'll retire. You gonna do something fun when you retire?
I'm just gonna travel and just ignore my granddaughter and
Okay. And you're gonna leave Randy
learn
to
how
run
to
his
play the
business?
piano.
Are you asking me too?
No, I said,
I'm a workaholic that loves what he does.
I know, I
I'll
said.
have a
Linda,
hard time
you're-
letting my clients
You're gonna
go.
go travel while Randy runs his business, is that right?
That's right. He's choosing not to retire with me.
Okay, all right. Well, that happens sometimes. All right, well, we'll see how long that lasts. All right, now, there are a few things that we need to discuss concerning income. So the biggest fear that people have when planning for retirement is that they could run out of money. Would you agree?
Yes,
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So there are two types of income. Income tied to assets and income not tied to assets. Now, when a person retires, they usually get Social Security, maybe a small pension. These are income streams that last a lifetime and end at death, unless the pension continues to the spouse. Now, these income streams are not tied to assets. They're income that you get every month, no matter what, just like a paycheck, right? Then there are income streams that are tied to assets, like CDs, bank accounts, IRA, mutual funds, 401k, all that kind of stuff. Anything with a lump sum of money that can be turned into income. So there are income streams tied to assets and income streams not tied to assets. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, approximately what are your monthly expenses? The easiest way to calculate that is to add up your monthly take-home pay, which you told me is about 25,000. Subtract whatever you have left over at the end of the month, or you put into savings each month, and that's how much you spend.
Personally, we spend about $10,000 a month.
Okay. And if you need help with budgeting your monthly expenses, we can do that at a later time as well. Okay.
Okay.
Now, two other concepts must be considered in retirement. These are called income gaps and income cliffs. An income gap is when there is not enough guaranteed monthly income, like Social Security, pensions, or disability, to meet your monthly budget. Guaranteed income minus monthly expenses equals your income gap. Now, not all people have gaps, but most do. So a gap is solved in one of three ways. You either cut expenses, you pull from your assets, or you get a job at Walmart. Which one do you choose?
Well, I think I'm going to work for asset positioning services.
For the rest of your life, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but right now I'm really happy with what I do, and I change a lot of lives, and I have a lot of long-term clients that are older than me, and to be honest with you, they're probably going to die before I do, and there's going to be a lot of death claims, and there's going to be a lot of income flow coming in. So I'm pretty comfortable with what my plans are in the future with my business.
Okay, now Randy, I think I heard that you had COVID pretty bad a couple of years ago. Is that right?
I did. I almost died from it in 2020, Christmas Eve, 2020.
And how long were you sick?
I was disabled for almost 90 days at home with oxygen.
So,
My business took care of us during that time.
all right. Now, if that happens, if something like that happens again, not necessarily COVID, but a health event, and you can no longer work, then what's your plan?
If I could no longer work, this is not first marriage for us. When I got divorced, I bought a long-term care policy that if I can't work and I can't do my activities of daily living, all my expenses are paid and my income keeps coming in.
Okay, well, we're going to get to that in just a moment. So you would, I guess what I hear you saying is that you would work until you got to the point where you absolutely cannot and you actually needed help in life. Is that what I hear you saying?
Well, and you have to remember, I don't know if I'm always working or playing. I really enjoy going to see my clients because most of my clients are my friends.
Okay.
And there's millions and millions of dollars of assets there that I would be almost silly to walk away from. And people who are in the financial services business, if you built a good business, you'll feel the same way. Now you might sell it, and I'm not saying I wouldn't sell it, but I'm saying right now, I like to go see my clients, and I cry with them when they die, and I have an income that just keeps on coming in.
Okay. All right. So you're one of the very few people who want to work until they die. So we'll leave it at that. Does that sound right?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now,
Linda doesn't feel that way.
no, I'm thinking not. So we're going to continue having this part of the conversation. All right. Now, since the biggest fear retirees have is that they will not have enough guaranteed lifetime monthly income, they must fund the gap from their accumulated assets. This is how most people do it. And if something happens and you can no longer continue working, Randy, this is how most people do it. So a gap can be funded with assets that are either a sure thing or a maybe. Now, a sure thing means that your monthly income will be guaranteed for the rest of your life, no matter what. A maybe includes assets that are at market risk, assets that might run out before you die, or assets that can be eaten up due to inflation or unexpected expenses. So you don't really have retirement income right now, Randy, because you're planning on working till you die. So I'm going to ask Linda. Linda, is your retirement income funded with a maybe or a sure thing?
Well, I have an annuity, and then I'm hoping Social Security will still be around. I mean, I know it's probably a maybe, but hopefully.
But you know
Okay.
what? Now, Linda and I together, our income on assets that are not tied to, income not tied to assets. If we ever got to that point and say, hey, let's live on that, we can live very well on that.
Okay, all right. And we're just about to the annuity part, and I'm seeing that I need to move that into a different section, but yes. Okay. All right, so let's examine the difference between an income gap and an income cliff. A gap can be planned for mathematically, but an income cliff is harder to plan for. A cliff is a sudden change in the math formula. That is when you lose almost half of your Social Security when one of you passes away, and it happens immediately. Or one of you has a heart attack, cancer, stroke, or some health event, and you have all these extra expenses. They might be medical expenses, or they might be long-term care assistance of some sort. Now, death lowers your income. Poor health raises your expenses. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we can look at solutions for these later so that you don't run out of money when either of those things happen, but we'll come back to that. I just want you to be aware of those income gaps and income cliffs for right now, okay? All right, now.
And thinking about what you had to say there, Jen, I think the cliffs on my part are taken care of pretty much through my long-term care contract and my life insurance and our savings. I don't think our cliffs are taken care of
And
on
you're
Linda's
getting
side
ahead
as
of
well.
the presentation.
Okay, I was just trying to answer your question. Go ahead.
You can't pretend that you know the presentation. All right, do you guys have any life
sorry.
insurance? You said you both had life insurance policies on
Yes.
each other, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Randy, how much do you have?
It's close to 750,000.
Okay, Linda, how about you?
300,000.
Okay, great. And you said you have annuities. Tell me about them.
I have one, it's 150,000.
And do you know anything about it, what type it is?
It's an index annuity.
It's an indexed annuity, a fixed
You know,
indexed annuity.
Okay, and
It's
do you
an-
know the company?
National Western.
National Western, okay. And Randy, do you have you just have the one, Linda?
Yes.
Okay, Randy, you have any annuities?
400,000.
Okay. What do you know about it?
It's an accumulating annuity with
Accumulation?
American Equity.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And is that the only one you have?
It's a combination of several with the same company.
Say that again, I'm not sure I understood.
It's with the same company, but there's a couple of contracts.
Oh, okay, all right, but altogether it's about 400,000.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. Okay, now I'm a firm believer that your current health conditions are a primary factor in your investment choices. Would you agree?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
All right, now this is the part that Randy's been trying to get to the whole time. One of the most common income cliffs is caused by the need for long-term care. Tell me about your current long-term care plans.
Well, I think ours are different. My biggest fear when I got divorced a long time ago was that I didn't want Lori to have to pay my long-term care expenses. So I bought an unlimited lifetime long-term care policy that I can increase the benefit each year.
Okay.
We have not done that with Linda.
I don't have.
We don't have that with Linda.
Okay, who's your long-term care plan with, Randy? Do you know?
Physicians Mutual.
Physicians Mutual, okay, and you can increase it.
It increases automatically with an inflation rider every year.
Okay,
But I bought it so long ago, it's only like $139 a month.
okay, all right, good. And Linda, what are your current long-term care plans?
I don't have a long-term care policy right now.
Okay, what are your plans? What happens if, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to a nursing home, assisted home health care? Do you want, I mean, assisted living center? You want somebody to come to your home? You want Randy to take care of you and wipe your butt? What do you want to do?
Not, no, I haven't really thought about it.
Linda, to be
I-
honest, is so healthy.
I don't have any. I mean, luckily so far, I don't have any health conditions right now, so far.
Okay, all right. So all of us want to die peacefully in our sleep. Every single person does, but the
That would
reality
be
is
perfect.
that most people are sick for a period of time before we die. And
All right,
either we planned for that or we just our family jumps through hoops in order to make it happen. One of the two, right? Right.
And I can sort of tell you what I have on my mind there. I think she will outlive me. And I think she'll collect the life insurance. And she comes from a good frugal background and will have a nice Social Security income. If she got sick, I think that would put pressure on us that we need to solve and we need to discuss. But I think she's in good shape if I go first, and she's in good shape if I get sick first, because that's properly funded.
Okay. But you're just gonna wait till she gets sick before you make any decisions about what happens to
No.
her?
No, I'm going to be open to whatever suggestion you make.
Okay, all right. Have either of you ever experienced a long-term care event in your family? Like take care of your parents or
I
brothers and
have
sisters
not.
or something?
no, I have not.
No, but no, I have experienced a lot of long-term care situations in my career, but not in my
Okay.
family.
So you've seen what it does to families.
I do.
Okay. Linda, have you seen it with other people, other friends or people at church or anything?
I have not, no.
You have not, so you're not aware. Well, I think that's something that maybe Randy could probably tell you stories for days
Well, I
about.
mean, I've heard Randy talk about clients, a lot at length of what's happened with them. Yes.
Right. Right. So, it really does end up, turning the whole family's life upside down in either somebody has to stop working in order to take care of the person, or they have to come up with a bunch of money in order to pay somebody else to take care of the person. And either way, it's very, very difficult on the family. And there's a lot of emotional things that go along with it that, most people never even consider. And that's not what we're really going to get into today. But so this is something that is, we should probably talk about for Linda. Does that sound
Okay,
right?
yes.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Now, is it okay if I ask you a few broad health questions to help me be a better advisor to you?
Sure.
Randy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Have either of you ever had any heart issues, cancer, or stroke?
No.
Uh,
Well, Randy has.
yeah, I had a heart stent about 15 years ago. No cancer, no stroke.
Okay. And how's your heart doing now?
My heart is fine.
Okay,
It has a heart stent.
Okay.
But you know, it's strong.
Okay. How about diabetes or high cholesterol or high blood pressure?
I have diabetes.
Okay.
Linda's healthy as a horse.
And do you know your current A1C?
It's right at 7.
Okay. And any mental health issues, kidney, liver, pancreas, COPD, anything major that I need to know about?
No,
How that I know.
I mean, other than I'm a long hauler from COVID,
Okay.
and
You still,
you know, that was a crazy experience for me. I got through it. I still have a few side effects.
okay. If you don't mind, what side effects do you still have from that?
Well, and COVID, what people don't realize is that there's different reactions. I didn't have to be ventilated. I had something called a cytokine storm, which means my body fought off COVID infection so hard that my heart rate went to 160 beats a minute for 3 days. And I had a little bit of scarring when my body rejected the infection out of my lungs. But other than that, I'm okay.
Okay. All right.
You
Well,
know,
I'm
I got through it.
glad you're doing better. It is not fun, I'm
I
sure.
would say that I'm closer to the cliff than Linda. But go ahead.
All right. Now, other than what you already told me, any surgeries or hospitalizations for either one of you?
No,
No,
All right. What prescriptions are you
I don't
taking?
I don't take any prescriptions. I don't smoke. None of that.
Okay. What are you taking for your diabetes, Randy?
I have to take placebo once a day.
A placebo? Is that what you said?
No, Traceba. It's insulin.
Placebo. Okay. Okay. And are you any other prescriptions?
Well, I just have blood pressure, you know, just basic things that somebody pushing 65 to 70 has, blood pressure meds and vitamin D and cholesterol meds.
Okay. Any tobacco use in the last year or so?
No,
No,
Has the doctor ever told you that you have a drug or alcohol problem?
no. I tell you what, if we had a 6-pack of beer, it'd be sitting there in the refrigerator for a year or two before it away. We don't drink.
So your problem is that you just let it go stale.
yeah, we have to give it away.
To give it away.
Hope
That's right.
somebody comes over and drinks it.
Actually, our friends come over and sit by the pool and drink our beer.
Okay, well, there you go. All right, so Randy, I guess you are a little closer to the edge of the health cliff than Linda, is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, all right, and then I would get your current height and weight. All right, now, Randy and Linda, you've done well with your estates. Did you learn anything new about your current estate plan that you did not know before we talked today?
Yes, we need to research some things and make some decisions.
Okay. Randy, how about you?
Well, you know, I think that I'd like to talk to you about an estate plan other than just a will, because I think our estates are too complicated to put that burden on the probate court and our family. So I think that we should solve that in advance.
Okay,
Yes.
so now that you understand the consequences that your family will still have to go through the government's probate system, and that you have no real control over what happens to you, you have two choices today. I can put an entire estate plan together for you today for 1995 and have it ready in a week, or you can do nothing and let the government be in control. Is there any reason why you would not want to have your estate plan in order?
Well, if you can do it that fast, while it's still fresh on our mind, I think we need to have an estate plan, don't you?
Well, I think so too. Yeah, definitely.
All right.
You know, we have one, but it's not as good as what you're talking about.
Okay, all right. Well, then all I need is a credit or debit card and we can get started online right now. I have most of your information.
right.
So I've got Lori is going to be all of the things, healthcare, financial, and trustee for Randy. And then Tim is going to be healthcare, financial, and trustee for Linda. I know that's secondary for
After
both
each
of you.
other.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
secondary.
Secondary.
And
Spouse-
Yes.
Spouses are first, right? All right.
Yes.
And then you're on, as far as your beneficiaries would go, then that would be a little bit more complicated and we can fill in those details online. So
Right.
remember, these can be changed anytime. Relationships change, assets change, or health changes, or any changes that you just want to make. And the way that that works is that this is a software subscription of $29.95 a year. And that enables you to make those changes as often as you need. And it stores everything in a secure cloud-based network. So I just need your credit card and
It's
we
a
can get
really
started.
good deal.
All right,
Thank you.
here you go.
All
We
right.
want it. I think we're selling it. But then what happens after we buy?
After you buy. All right, so it looks like I am going to, you've got a lot of things going on here, and we have I think a couple more conversations to have as well. But after we buy, the first thing will be 1 week from now, we will meet and we will go over the estate plan and we will do signatures. We'll have 2 witnesses and a notary will sign it, put everything in place. That's the most important part, is we want to get that in place. Then I'm going to take a look at some of the information that you gave me. I'm going to do a little bit of research and come back with some numbers to show you next week. Would you like to see some numbers?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we'd like to
Yes,
see
I
our
would like to
numbers.
see that. Yes.
All right. And then it looks like we actually have a couple other conversations we need to have as well. So we will just take them one at a time. So the first thing that we're going to do is get that estate plan in place for you, get all of the legal thing to protect everything that you've got going on. And then we're going to start looking at your numbers one by one. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. Thank you.
I'm glad we had this meeting. I thought we were in good shape.
Well, you were in good shape. Now you're going to be in great shape.
I agree.
Okay, thanks, Jen.
Jenny
You're
did a
welcome.
wonderful
Thank
job.
you for showing up today.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, I'll see you next week, same time, same channel. I'll send you a
We'll
new
be
Zoom
here.
invitation. You'll get it, all right?
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Now, can I change roles here?
Yeah, change roles, we're done.
Okay. Folks, Jen has done a wonderful job at learning what to do, and you can see where she innovated a little bit. But it's because she emulated first and got the process down. So, you know, and that's all I'm asking you all to do. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to tell you that it would not be hard for you to have a $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 monthly income by following this process. There's months when my income's a lot higher, but it very seldom goes lower. And it's because this is what I do every day. And I've told you over and over and over, those of you listen, I will teach you what I know and I will teach you what I do. And I'm going to have a hard time teaching you anything else, because that's, you know, that's my primary promise to you. And that's the unique mechanism, the family tree asset positioning sales presentation. I hope that you guys will make an appointment with me tomorrow or Friday. I'm going to take next week off. It's 4th of July and I've got a swimming pool and I'm going to rest and chill out for a week. But if you want to talk to me before that, make an appointment, send me an email, tell me what your topic is, and join the cycle of success. You know, it's a habit breaking process that will lead you to 10-7-3, 10 approaches, 7 appointments, 3 sales. You can do that weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever you want. But I think the way I understand it, Lisa's going to do a little editing for us and get this ready and send it to everybody. I'll be honest with you, Jen, it was excellent.
Very good.
Very good presentation.
Thank you.
And if any of you all want to emulate Jen, I want to encourage you to do so. Okay. But if we want to take questions, we can go ahead and take some questions. Lisa, can you help us get some questions up here?
Randy, why don't I take the questions in the chat first, and then
Go ahead.
people say them, all right? So
All right, that's good.
That I get to all of them here. All right, so the PowerPoint slides, I'm going to say no on that. I really want people to do their own personality. So literally all I did was I went to Google and I Googled images for each of these slides. I didn't make any of them. I just Googled an image, stuck it up there. So you can do the same thing, whatever. I really want it to be your personality. I've seen when people take somebody else's slide presentation. First of all, it was a lot of work for me, but I've seen when they take it, that it doesn't become their own. I've done that before. I've taken other people's slide presentations and it's not mine. So I would say, just go Google and they tell you, you know, if it's a picture you can download or not. All right, so I'm trying to see if there's any other questions here. Okay, second meeting. Is the second meeting in person, and are you a notary? So yes, I am a notary, but you don't have to be to do this. The first meeting can be whatever you want, and the second meeting can be whatever you want, whether it's in person or on Zoom. So I like doing the meetings on Zoom for a couple of reasons. One is that I don't have to go anywhere and they don't have to go anywhere. It's just right in the comfort of our own home. The second is, as you probably saw today, it's so easy to see on the screen. I don't have to turn somebody's paper around and say, you know, is this your family tree? And you know, if there's anything that I want them to see, a PowerPoint presentation really holds their attention, holds their focus. So they're not like drifting off and wondering, you know, what are we going to talk about next and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about having an agenda out there. When you have a PowerPoint presentation, you'll notice I didn't do that. So it doesn't matter if you do these in person or on Zoom, but I do like it on Zoom. I think I can actually hold their attention better on Zoom. So if you're doing the signing, so I do people all over the nation. All right. So the second appointment, then what I do is I just go over the estate plan with them. And then I talk about the funding directions, and I have some extra things that I actually put into the estate plan binder for all of my clients. And so I go over that information with them. And then I tell them how they can find a notary, usually tell them just to go to the bank and take 2 witnesses with them, or they can use a mobile notary. Yesterday, I just came across an article on how I can become a mobile notary. And as soon as I get that, I'm just going to do it myself. All right. Because that's easier. Then I don't have to worry about that part. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do the notary part. Is there anything I forgot to mention in the presentation? I hope not. Can this be adapted to telesales with no Zoom? You could, but I don't think you would have, it would have the power. You know, that's up to you. I've done this presentation without PowerPoint many times, but I'm seeing the other person, right? So either, I think it's best to either see the person or have a PowerPoint. To use a third party for notary. Okay, I already talked about that. Can you sign the notary? I don't know how the mobile notary works yet. All right, any other questions? And you can, I think, Randy, they can just unmute and ask, is that right?
If they want to.
Okay, anybody else have any other
Yes.
questions?
I was impressed that in between the PowerPoint, the questions that you asked and responses that you gave, and I guess it comes from you doing it so much. But for somebody who's new like myself, how do I get all of that done? Because it's a
just
lot.
Jen, I
Sure.
want to answer that. I want to answer
Okay.
that.
Okay,
Cynthia, chapter 21 of the lessons that I put on the 30-day lesson plans has
Okay.
an agenda. And if you will follow that agenda and have that agenda available for your clients to see, and then follow chapter 22, 23, 24, because the agenda and the confidential and the sales presentation and the power phrases all go on top of, like an overlay, they all fit together.
Okay.
And if you will have that agenda until you can wing it on your own and follow that agenda, you'll always be in control of the presentation.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
that's the same thing that a PowerPoint does, right? So the PowerPoint is your agenda. As far as just the conversational that we had in between my presentation part, that's just a conversation, and that just comes with practice. So the more conversations you have, the more that you learn. But so Randy asked a bunch of questions, and if he had asked one that I didn't know, then, which happens when you're new, right? Then I would say, that's a great question. I think I know the answer, but let me find out 100% for sure, and I'll get back to you next week on that. Okay, so that's what you do if you don't know. But otherwise, you're just learning conversational skills when you're brand new. I wanted to go back to one of the questions. She said, is there anything you forgot to mention? So yes, actually there was. So Randy was supposed to give me pushback at the beneficiaries, and he didn't. So I almost always get pushback when I get to the beneficiary section. And so I wanted to kind of respond with what I do there. And what I have is that I have 3 personal stories of 3 inheritances that I lost out on. And they're pretty major stories and pretty major inheritances. One was $11 million. Yes, $11 million that I lost out on because this was not done correctly. And so when people tell me things like, these are the 2 that I hear most often. I asked Randy and he said, yes, he hears them too. They'll say, oh, I will just leave everything to my oldest child and I trust them. They will just do what's right. If I hear that one, or if I hear, oh, I know that my kids will work it out together because my kids get along really well. They never fight. All right. Now, those 2, if I hear either one of those 2, I'm going to tell one of my 3 stories about how I lost these inheritances. And I'm just going to tell you one so you kind of get an idea here. And this is my why. So I tell them, this is why I do what I do. All right. So my aunt and uncle died 4 days apart from one another. They left an $11 million estate. They had a will, but it wasn't signed. So our family did not like their will. So we ripped it up and we said, we want the money. They were going to give it to the university. We said, no, we want the money. So that was the first thing. And then the closest relative was my father. So he was supposed to inherit everything, but he lived in Scotland. So that caused a lot of problems. So my sister, who lived near my aunt and uncle, she was the executor of the estate. Now, at that time, my 2 sisters and I were going through divorces. All 3 of us were going through divorces at once. So we had to hurry up and get our divorces over so that our husbands would not get our share of the estate, right? So we're getting our divorces done. My sister in Florida, she said at the beginning, we're going to split this 3 ways equally. We will never have to worry about money again for the rest of our life. Well, then she got a little taste of the money as executor, and she kept the whole thing. And we had to pay taxes, 40% taxes, actually. We had to pay on that. And then she kept the rest of it. I got a couple $1,000s. My sister got a couple $1,000s. But $11 million estate that should have been split 3 ways, and it wasn't. Why? Because they didn't sign their will. They didn't have an estate plan. They didn't make plans for it. And my sisters, who I'd never, ever, ever had a fight with ever in my entire life, suddenly she turned into a different person when she saw money. And now I can't hardly have a conversation with her because all I think about is she stole millions of dollars from me. And that's why I'm really passionate about what I do. And that's why I'm passionate about making sure that that kind of stuff doesn't happen to your family too. So if you have a story to tell a story. It's super, super, super important. But that is the one thing that I didn't share in today's, that I do share at some point throughout usually, but that didn't happen today. Okay. Do you print out one copy of the docs or multiple copies and send in the mail to the clients in a binder? I print out one copy. I put it in the binder and I send it in the mail. And then I have at home, I have my own estate plan in my document. So when I'm having that conversation with them on Zoom, I'm going through mine so I can see, turn to this page and see this. That's what I do with that.
Jen, I'd like to add something there.
Yeah.
Folks, face to face, eyeball to eyeball in your natural market is going to make you a lot more money in the next week or so if you want it to. Okay. Now I understand Zoom. I'm not a Zoomer. I guess you could tell, but it's personal observations. And you can have a personal observation of somebody 1,000 miles away, but if you get them across the table from you and you watch their body language and you make eye contact with them, don't discount that. It's very important. It's what I do. I'd like to learn to be as good at Zoom as Jen is. But my market is built around my personal observations and my referrals, and people going, "Hey, Randy, you need to call this person. They've had a relationship change or an asset change or a health change, and I know you can help them." It doesn't matter to me how you do it or what media you use. But if you're sincere and you do your job and you have the conversations in a correct way, I'm just telling you, my way is to look them in the eye and get a handshake. Most of my sales come with a handshake. That's all I got to say about that.
All right. Randy, you can answer this one because I actually don't know the answer. Do you have the client send their deeds? Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Yes. Do you have the client?
I know the answer. I'll tell you what we do.
Directly to the local county courthouse. Go ahead with yours and I'll say what I do.
Okay. We charge $130 for the deed. And we pay $75 to an attorney to do it. And then we pay the $13 or $15 registration fee because we're full service and we make it easy on them. And $130 out of their pocket, I give them $1,000 worth of service on it. And then they hand me checks for $100,000, $250,000, $500,000, $300,000. So I am hands-on when it comes to that, mostly through Linda. Okay. But I see to it that trust is properly funded. And I try my best to stick with them the whole way. And that's just, that's what I want to encourage you to do. And if you ask me that question, that's what I'm going to tell you. You can, even if you do it from 1,000 miles away, you can still stick with them on the phone. You can still coach them through and answer their questions. But don't ignore your next door neighbor, or the person that lives down the street, or the person that lives a half mile away, or somebody that your plumber. Don't ignore those people. They need to hear from you just as much as some stranger on a Zoom call. So use your personal observations. It'll make you a lot of money.
And I do both, just so you know. All
Okay.
right, so I have a legal, I can't remember the name of it and now it's a website that I own where I can do the deeds in all 50 states. And I just go in and type up the information. It takes less than 5 minutes to do it. And then I send it to them, and then I know how to Google what they need to do. So I just give them the information and have them file it at their county courthouse. So it's $100 for that. That's how I'm doing it.
Can we get that that website information?
I'd have to look up and see what website I have. I have all of that closed right now, just so I can do the presentation today. So I don't have that
Okay.
open. I'm not sure the name of it. Yeah.
Send your questions to me and we'll get the answers for you.
Okay. People are making bids on how much they're going to pay for the presentation. What about adapting this presentation for a group, like an educational seminar with? Absolutely. I will be probably turning this into a webinar format. Can you explain more about the deeds? That's going to be, I'm going to say that's going to be a different day. Do we need to file something? Would a company like you deed? Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the name of mine. It's all kinds of legal forms, like LegalZoom or something. I can't remember which one it is that I have. But it's all kinds of legal forms for one small fee, and it's all 50 states. So that's what I use. All right. Any other
Okay,
questions?
I'm gonna interrupt here just for a second. It does no good to ask some of these questions if you don't have appointments and if you aren't approaching your first 10 people. Learn to identify and learn to convert them into a prospect. If you don't do that, it doesn't make any sense to try to do all this other stuff. And I guess that's all I got to say about that.
All right. Any other questions? So I would just say
That was
again,
fun, wasn't it?
take Randy's presentation, keep the meat of it, change just enough for your personality, and you'll be great.
And this has been a long day, and it's been a good day. You know, there's not a person on this webinar today that can't do this presentation. That's not the problem. The problem is making an appointment to do the presentation. And once you conquer that, the rest of it's going to be downhill and it's going to be easy.
I have a question
Okay,
for Randy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Randy, it's May.
Hi,
Hi.
May.
Hi. Question for you. If someone's asking about the price, the night, is it advisable to disclose the price up front? Say you're conversing via email and they're asking, or even over the phone, how much does this cost?
Well, okay, that's a good question. First thing we do is we tell them what attorneys charge
Okay,
and how attorneys charge every time you go in to see them.
right.
Okay, what you're selling is in your end user agreement under marketing on your website that explains that you're selling something that they have a lifetime license to never have to pay another attorney's fee to get this work done, and that they have their own login and their own sign in, and they're going to have relationship changes and asset changes and health changes that should never cost them more than $29.95 a year in the vault. And you really have to identify what it is you're selling. And then when you tell them that $19.95 is less than what the attorneys are going to charge for the first time, and then the attorneys are going to keep on charging you, and all you're going to do as a financial services professional is give them a lifetime license for $19.95, and a good coach and somebody to be sure it's properly funded. The value is there. Okay. So don't just say 1995. Tell them what that means. Tell them what it is they're buying. And I think a lot of people don't understand what it is they're selling. And when you talk about a lifetime license for digital estate planning, might last 5 years, might last 50 years, but just be sure, May, that all of you people understand that this is a superior product, and it has to be presented in an intellectual way so that the end result is a no-brainer decision to move forward. And then that's what takes you to the back end sale and makes a lot of money. That's the sermon I preach. But a lot of people don't know what this product is. And it's listed under the end user agreement and under marketing. Does that make sense?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure it's okay to disclose the dollar amount up front.
Yes, but I wouldn't just disclose the dollar amount
No,
unless they understand what they're buying, because somebody else might come in and say $7.95,
right.
and they're not going to make any money. So if you're gonna quote the price, tell them what they're buying and compare it to what the attorneys are charging. It's a good deal.
Oh, yes, I absolutely know that. It's just I wasn't sure if we're allowed to disclose it up front, if it makes sense to disclose it up front versus waiting till we meet with them. So, okay, as long as we talk about the value and what they're going to be receiving up front. Okay.
Yeah, you can say it up front. Just be sure that you say what that means and what that is.
Yeah, the value that they're going to receive. Got it. Okay.
Right. Lifetime value. Good question, May.
Thank you
for asking. What else we got out there? Well, okay. Tomorrow, I'm going to go pick up some money on a trust that I wrote about 7 years ago. That's a future sale. And then tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to have a client come in here, and we're going to notarize a trust restatement and pick up about $100,000 on a death claim. Those are the kind of things that if you will let me teach you how to build momentum, and let me teach you how to approach people and make the conversion of the suspect to the prospect, that's what will happen to you. And Jen, you're going to be better at it than me in what you do, and I'm going to be better at it than you in what I do. And the goal is the same. It's just the techniques are different. That's okay. What's not okay is failure to implement. And that's what, if I can teach you all anything, it'll be implement first, pick up your experience as you go, watch your income grow. That's almost like a poet, isn't it? Anyway, what else we got? You'll always hear me beat the same drum. And once I get a licensee through the approach prospect dilemma, or the approach prospect, I'm not sure what the right word is. I think maybe it's an enigma. And once I get you to realize that it's easy to ask for referrals once you've done a good job with somebody, and those people will give it to you, your momentum will grow in whatever media you choose. Zoom, group presentations. I like the one-on-one. That's just where I prosper.
Randy, question.
Yes, sir.
If you, someone who does know you, not necessarily someone you've ever done business with, and the fact is you've known each other long enough, you're already past the, what do you do? What do I do? Yada, yada, yada. What is a good way to be able to, how do you get the conversation around to where you can get to you may learn some things about, that you're not aware of about your current estate plan. How do you get around to that with someone that you, again, familiar with, they're familiar with you, but, how do you get there?
Well, most of the time, because of the momentum, they are approaching me. Okay. If you don't have momentum, you have to approach them. and you have to be honest, and you have to look at them and say, you know, most of my clients, when they engage in this conversation with me, learn something about their current estate plan that they weren't aware of. Everybody has an estate plan, but the primary promise and the benefit you get from talking to me is that you're going to learn something that you probably weren't aware of about your current plan. You see any harm in that? You don't have to buy anything. Let's just have the conversation. It's a good, fun conversation to have. And, you know, that works.
Can I answer that, Randy?
Yeah.
All right. Now, Tony, I know you've heard me say this 100 times, but it still works. So it doesn't matter if I know the person or don't know the person. I still ask the same thing every time. I learned this from Randy. Do you have a will, a trust, or the government plan? And it doesn't usually matter what they have. The answer I get most common is, I've been meaning to talk to somebody about that. Can you help me with that? That's usually what people will say.
Absolutely.
So if you're basically, let's say you're just in a conversation, you know, hey, you ran into someone you know in some public place, and you know, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Then how are you getting it to the, you know, do you have a will, a trust, or the government plan?
It usually comes after the what do you do? What do you do?
Well, but actually, you know, these are people that already know what, you know, you've already passed the what do you do's.
How's it going for you? Hey, I started something new. Do you have a will, a trust, or a government plan? It's just,
Okay, so
hey, I
just-
started something new. Yeah.
Okay, good enough. All right.
Don't be afraid to do it. You know, if you ask, you know, and you don't have to just go out all day long and say the same thing over and over and over, but you know, use your personal observation skills and look at that person and say, you know, I'd like to ask you a question because it's what I do for a living. Do you have a will or a trust or the government plan is perfect. And there's a brochure on your website for that. And if you handed out 100 of those brochures in a week, you'd probably have enough business to write for the next 4 or 6 months, because people will say exactly what Jen just told you. And once you've done it for as long as I've done it, you'll realize that I have to pick my time, because I could work 100 hours a week. Sometimes I do. You know, and I do the exact same thing every time. I talk to people about their current estate plan, and I tell them that they might need to talk to me because they might learn something that they weren't aware of, and they always do. That's you know, and until you realize the value of the knowledge that you have and the skill that you've been developing, you're going to have a hard time with that. And you know, you just need to decide, hey, this is who I'm going to be economically. I'm going to help people with their estate plans. And you'll find more people that say yes than people say no. But if you don't ask any, you're going to have the same amount of yeses and the same amount of no's. But as soon as you start talking to people, you're going to see that the number of yeses start going up. And that will lead you to the back end sale. That will lead you to the future sale. That will lead you to never having to worry about who you're going to talk to at any given time. And the market is that wide open. Nobody knows how to do it. Do what?
The brochure you mentioned, which one exactly is that?
In marketing, go to marketing on your website, and there's a little quiz in there that says, do you have a will or trust or government plan?
Okay,
It's just a quiz.
The survey brochure.
Yeah, it's a survey. Yeah. And they can keep their score. Hand out those surveys. You know, when somebody sees what their score is, they're going to say, well, yeah, can you help me do that? Or can you help me understand that better?
Can I add to that?
Please do.
Go ahead.
So what I have found more often than not is that at some point during the presentation, and I saw this today with Randy and Linda, when I was only maybe not even half, maybe a third of the way through the presentation, they were already like, we need a trust, we need a trust, we need a trust, right? What I what I get from real clients at that point, whenever the light bulb goes off for them, they will say, oh, you need to talk to my mom or my brother or my whatever, my neighbor. You need to talk to so-and-so because they have this situation and they really need to have one of these too. I have not even finished the presentation and I'm getting referral on almost every single one of them. That's
Absolutely.
how much people need this. Most people don't have it. They don't realize how much they need it until they're told how it works.
And it's easy.
It is.
You just have to realize that you're bringing value to the relationship, because there's things they don't know that you know, and they want you to lead
it's
them through
making
that
it-
conversation.
I like the way that you've done this, Randy, because about a week before I heard of you, I was watching a webinar from an attorney on wills and trusts. And it was an hour-long webinar. And I got to the end of that webinar and I did not know one thing more than when I started. I was so confused and I thought, I have no idea what she just said. She was a very nice lady. I have no idea what she just said for an hour. And I'm very smart. I think I am. And I was just like, so if we can take this presentation, which is pretty much at a 5th grade level, and help people to understand exactly what this is in this amount of time that you spend with them, then that is the greatest service that we are doing for anybody. Because I drive Uber now and then to meet people because I'm on Zoom all day. And I was talking to these people the other day and, people ask me what I do and I was telling them, and she said, oh, I just went to a presentation by an attorney on estate plan last week. And I said, oh, what'd you learn? And so she told me this and that. And I said, what'd you learn about probate? And she's like, probate? What's that? I thought, you know what? They missed the whole point, right? I hammer that. You probably saw that, but I hammer and hammer and hammer and hammer and hammer probate so that people will do anything to get away from probate. That's my fear tactic that I'm using, right? I'm using the carrot and stick approach here. So once I told them about probate, they took my card. They're signing up with me. They're like, that attorney didn't tell us anything about probate.
Actually, it's a 6th grade level, Jen.
Okay.
And for those of you all that don't know me, my background in education is I started out as an elementary school teacher. And I like to kid people, and some of you heard me say it before, but in Tennessee, I can teach anything I want to, any topic I want to, as long as I don't take it above the 6th grade. And that's what I've done with this presentation. I have tried to make it simple, but I've also tried to ask the questions in a way that it leads the person to come to the conclusion that they are unhappy with their present plan. It's all downhill from that point.
Randy,
All downhill. Yes.
I just spoke to an acquaintance, and come to find out last year she got her trust done for $3,000. But she asked me, and she doesn't know that I do any of this. But people think I know a lot or know somebody who knows. Anyway, so she asked me about her trust, if could they take her home away from her if she was going after long-term care, or if she had to go, into any other kind of living situation. And I just told her, well, I couldn't answer because I don't know what's in your trust, number one. And number two, you might want to talk to the lawyer that set your trust up. Because, people want to get information from you, but they're paying somebody else. And so that was kind of like,
Cynthia, here's the answer to that. Here's the answer to
We
that.
want to talk to you,
That's-
Cynthia.
That's right. But here's what they do. That's right. But what you want to do is say, why don't you and I schedule an appointment to talk about your current plan?
that's what I
Don't
did.
worry about what you want them to have. Okay. And
Okay.
they're going to say, yes, let's do that. And then you show them the family tree and you ask the questions following the format that Jen and I are trying to lead you through. And money will start moving.
Okay. And that's what I told her. Let's get together. So, I can sit down with her. And she said, okay.
Okay.
But I've
Okay.
had, I know a handful of people who already have done their trust. And I can almost tell you that they're not funded properly because
Of course they're not.
that's not what happens.
Because they've had relationship changes and asset changes and health changes.
Or they
Right.
never.
And
begin with.
folks, go for it. Go for it. They're waiting on you to approach them.
Okay. Let me ask you this. My sister and I did a trust some time ago. And of course, we've had things that change that we need to look at, funding it some more. And the lawyer, he wants a few $1,000s to do that. So can I do my own system, but would I have to do it separate from my sister now? Even though the one that we did before.
I don't know. Cynthia, I don't know the answer to that, but maybe we ought to make an appointment and let's talk about that current plan.
Okay. Well, we have an appointment on Thursday anyway, so I'll write that down to do.
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Hey, folks, we've been going here for 2 hours. I'm so glad most of you have stuck with us on this. I've been sending you some pretty powerful emails the past day or so, asking you to implement, and it won't do you any good to sit through these meetings if you don't implement the personal observation, conversion of the suspect, and conversion of that suspect to a prospect. You're just going to be spinning your wheels until you do that. The rest of it's easy. The rest of it's downhill. The rest of it's profitable. I've talked to you about the approach, and I've talked to you about the psyche this month. I've talked to you about Shakespeare, about to be or not to be. You just have to decide: are you going to be the person that helps these people, that teaches them what they may not know about their current plan? If that's who you want to be, you're going to have a 6-figure income before Labor Day on a monthly basis, minimum. If that's what you want, that'd be great. But I'm going to let you all go. You're all wonderful. All I can tell you is implement. It's that easy. Hang up your hang-ups and implement. Okay.
Thanks,
Jen, you did a wonderful job today. I learned a lot from you. You're good. You're better at this than I am. You are. You're better at this than I am. And here's what I tell people when I go fishing with them. Different. That's right. And what I tell people, I go fishing with them, they catch more fish than me. I just look at them and go, well, I know other things. so you know what you know, I know what I know, but the process is the same. Implementation. And without it, you're spinning your wheels and you're right where you were 6 weeks ago or 6 months ago. And if somebody comes up and says, do this, and you won't spin your wheels, and then you don't do it and your wheels spin, that's your fault. Okay, so let's just leave it on that. I hope y'all have a nice 4th of July. If you don't make an appointment with me Thursday and Friday, I'm not going to make appointments next week. I'm going to sit by my swimming pool and maybe paint a shed. That's something different. But if you, that's all I got to say. Lisa, do what you can with what you got. Jennifer, you're wonderful.
Thank you so much.
And everybody that's on this
Linda.
presentation today. I hope you got what you wanted. I did. I got your attention. And I showed you what somebody can do with what I teach, and they can become better at it than I am because they finally can innovate themselves into the process that I teach. And that's what I've never asked for more than that. So anyway, I got to go. I'm getting hungry. It's 5 o'clock here. So everybody, how do you say bye? Just say bye and hit a button.
Bye. That's right. Bye.
Thanks,
Yes,
Jen.